Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be solving LeetCode 278, first bad version. So the problem states we're a product manager currently leading a team to develop a new product. And unfortunately, the latest version of our product fails the quality check. Since each version is developed based on the previous version, all the versions after a bad version will also be considered bad. So suppose we have n versions in the range of 1 to n inclusive, and we want to find out the first bad version, which causes all the following ones to be bad. So we're given an API which returns a bool is bad version, which returns whether a version is bad or not. And we need to implement a function to find the first bad version, and we should minimize the number of calls to the API. So this line right here, along with our array, which is sorted, that should be, that should scream to you binary search. Yes, we could solve this problem by iterating through every number in the range of 1 to n inclusive and just return true or false if it's the bad version, but then we make a call to our API every time we iterate. So what we're going to do is run binary search, which will give us a time complexity of O of log n and a space complexity of O of 1. So binary search uses 2 pointers. Left will start at 0, right will start at n, and we are going to run this loop while left is less than or equal to right. Inside of this loop, what do? Binary search, we have to calculate a midpoint. So midpoint will be left plus right minus left, and then we will floor divide by 2. Now, we have to check if our midpoint is a bad version or not. How can we do that? We can say if is bad version of whatever our midpoint is. If that returns false, that means we have not found the bad version yet. So what can we do? We know that everything before our midpoint will also be false because the problem statement says when we run into a bad version, everything after it will be true. So that means we can move our left pointer up to our midpoint plus 1. Right? Now, what if this returned true? If that returned true, let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and our bad version is, let's just say our bad version is 1, and our midpoint in this case is 3. Well, in that case, we would return true, but we don't want to return, this one. We want to return the very first version that is bad. So how can we do that? We can account for that by just saying, okay, we're going to move our right pointer down to be our midpoint, and then we will recalculate our midpoint again, and then just continuously do our checks. That will eventually find our first bad version instead of just returning a random bad version if this was ever true. So we'll say else the right pointer will be equal to the midpoint, and then if we ever break out of this, we know that our midpoint was never found to be equal to the bad version, and we are guaranteed in the problem statement to find a bad version. So what does that mean? That means we can just return the left pointer, which will end up being the first bad version. So let's get rid of this space. We'll run this. Might take a couple seconds to run. Did I do something wrong in here? Left will be mid plus 1. Otherwise, we move our right pointer down to our midpoint. It might be this. Less than or equal to. Should be less than R. Yep, there it is. So we'll submit. And it does pass. Perfect. So again, binary search runs in O of log n time. Space complexity is going to be O of 1 because we are not using any extra data structures. And that'll do it for LeetCode 278.